And it's often a stepping stone for people to then continue further travel. So, once they've been an au pair for half a year or to a year, I do often find that candidates still continue onto other programs or continue their travels a bit further afield.
Welcome to the show, Canadians Work and Travel Abroad, a podcast by Go International Work and Travel Providers about all things to do with working and traveling overseas. I'm Tamsin Plaxton, host of the show and founder of Go International. I'm also an avid international traveler. Okay, welcome back to the show, Canadians Work and Travel Abroad. I'm really excited to be joined today by a special guest. Tuuli Liskma is the owner of Smart Au Pairs, one of Go International's partners in the UK. Tuuli, I'd love to hear a little bit more about you and the company that you're now running. Can you give us a little background on yourself?
Yeah, of course. So basically, I've been running Smart Au Pairs since 2008, and the company was originally founded back in 2005. So we've been on the go for a very, very long time now. And as it stands, we are the leading au pair agency in England. And we focus quite heavily on inbound programs, so specifically on au pair program in England. And by au pair program, I basically mean, a live-in childcare program with a host family in London or elsewhere in the UK. But typically, most of our families tend to be based in the London area.
And so what does that exactly mean, being an au pair? I think we've all heard the word, but is it the same thing as being a nanny or a live-in caregiver? And what does that look like?
So the most traditional sense of au pairs, you're not required to have a qualification in childcare. So basically, typically, an au pair would be, a young person, 18 to 20-year-old or in their early 20s, looking to have a cultural exchange program experience. And as an au pair in England, basically what you'll do is you'll live in a host family setting, you'll help look after the children and some light household duties, and then in exchange, you'll receive weekly pay, full board, so a comfortable room, and your kind of normal daily meals. And it's a lot more affordable way for young people to travel, because if you think about moving to London, renting a place, paying for your own bills, that is astronomically expensive if you try to do that on your own. Whereas in host family setting, you get to do all the fun stuff, often in a central location, but you don't have the cost involved with that. So it's actually quite a bit more affordable way of traveling than some other programs that might be out there, or just traveling.
Yeah, for sure. London is very expensive. So, and they have their own room and they get meals as well. Oh, that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So what's the typical work hours for an au pair with the family?
So the typical hours would be 25 to 30 hours per week. And that's, again, for, unqualified childcarers. Occasionally, we might get candidates that have substantial prior childcare experience, so they may qualify for more professional roles, in which case they would be allowed to work more than 30 hours a week as well, and they would actually earn extra for it, obviously. But typically, the au pair hours revolve around school or nursery hours. So, you would kind of step in from 7 to 9 a.m. in the morning to help the kids get ready, breakfast, out the door to school or nursery. And then the middle of the day tends to be free. So that's the time for the au pair to kind of meet their friends, go for coffee, explore. And then they would kind of step back in again in terms of the working hours from around, say, 3 p.m. up until 6 p.m. So again, picking the kids up, giving them a snack or a lunch, helping with homework, sometimes helping with bedtime routine, joining in with the family for the dinner time. And then, they would usually finish around kind of 7, 8 p.m. And again, that's their own time after that.
And what's the minimum time commitment? If a person wanted to go and be an au pair in the UK, what would they be looking at in terms of commitment to the family?
Most families tend to prefer longer-term stays purely because the consistency in childcare in general is very important for many families. So typically the placements tend to range from 6 to 12 months with the potential to extend. Saying that, occasionally we can also offer placements for slightly short durations, so say 4 months plus. But I would say that in most cases, if the candidate can stay for 6 months plus, then they have very good chances in terms of finding.
So it's probably best for people taking a gap year, right? Not somebody going just for a summer vacation or summer work and travel experience.
True. I would say the summer program is quite oversubscribed as well. So there's a lot of people that are only available for a couple of months. And in my personal opinion, if you really want to get a kind of true culture experience, you want to do this for long term. So, in 2 months, you'll find that the time literally just flies by. If you come here with a bucket list, you'll struggle getting through much of that. So normally, 6 to 12 months is an optimal time to actually see places, get to know the family, really get to know the culture. And actually even 12 months in many cases, some of my au pairs, they end up extending for another year because they really enjoy it. So, they find that there's still plenty to do even beyond the 12-month periods. And obviously one of the good things here is the fact that we're so close to the rest of Europe. So a lot of the au pairs, especially now during the summertime, what I found are traveling. So they go to Greece or Spain or France. So when they have their own holidays, which you do get an allowance for as an au pair, they kind of take advantage of it and either see the rest of the UK or they would see, the rest of Europe. So it's not just, that you're going to see London, but you can see a lot further afield.
Yeah, I mean, London is just such a great hopping off spot to see so many places in Europe. There's so many places within an hour to 2 hour flight of London, and so many great low cost airlines now flying in and out of different airports. Yeah, it's easy to get away for the weekend. And what do you do in terms of screening the families to choose the families that you're going to place an au pair with?
Yeah, so families go through a very similar process to what the au pairs go through. So I interview the families, so we have a conversation just to understand what their expectations are. And if those expectations align with the program expectations. And I would probably say that the ratio in terms of the families who approach me versus the families that I actually end up working with would be around 8 out of 10. So 8 out of 10 families, I end up actually referring to other programs or other forms of childcare. So it's actually a very small proportion of families that we recommend to have an au pair. And that can be for a number of reasons. So in some cases, the children are just too young, or the family might need too many hours, or it would be better for the family to maybe have a live-out childcare option rather than a live-in option. Because for me, it's really important that anybody coming into the program, be that an au pair or a family, they really understand the kind of family inclusive element of the program. And for families, they have to really feel comfortable having a young person living with them, joining in with family activities. So it's not a case of, someone coming in and kind of working as an employee, but it's more, almost like have an older daughter or son who will kind of join in with kind of normal family life. And that works for some families, it doesn't work for others. So those are the kind of conversations we have with families from our end. And families do also have to provide references as well. So that's part.
And do you visit the home? Do you check the accommodations?
We do visit the home, although we do ask for photos of the accommodation. So that's something that the au pairs would have access to at the time of the application.
And what would you say are the biggest benefits to a young person going to be an au pair?
Well, what I touched upon already is the fact that, for one, obviously it's a great way to kind of gain independence, but au pairing is a good option for anyone who doesn't necessarily want to do the full-blown, gap year in Asia, backpacking independently, but it's almost like more comforting and safer option because you're in a host family setting. You've got Go International and us as an agency, supporting the au pair throughout the kind of journey. So there's almost, an element that, you're not on your own. And it's often a stepping stone for people to then continue further travel. So, once they've been an au pair for half a year or to a year, I do often find that candidates still continue onto other programs or continue their travels a bit further afield. But the independence aspect there is definitely big. So it's a big kind of like learning curve. Stepping outside of, one's comfort zone, and just, I guess learning life skills in communication. When you're a host family setting, you have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to, communicate effectively, and all of these kind of areas are really important for anybody's, future career, for example, or whatever people want to do going forward.
I can imagine. I have a daughter and she's 16, and when she's ready to go and work abroad, I think this kind of experience would be perfect, because it's, as you say, it's stepping into a family and having that support and feeling like you're part of a family while you explore a foreign country, being away from home, so you can venture out and come back to something that feels like home base. I think that's a perfect, first experience of working abroad. You've talked about what you look for in a family, and you've said, there's not every family really suits an au pair arrangement. What about for the au pairs themselves? What are you looking for when people apply, and who's the right candidate for this role?
So I guess as a starting point, so although we don't require, extensive childcare experience per se, what we do expect is love for children. It's a childcare-based program, so it's only going to work if you love kids, and if you love working with kids. So you have to have a bit of a kid in yourself, you have to enjoy actually spending time with children. And we always cater, different preferences when it comes to age groups, etc. So some au pairs prefer to work with slightly younger kids, some prefer to work with slightly older kids. So we'll always take that into account. But I guess, love for children is kind of like paramount, and as a starting point. And then in general, you just need to have, outgoing, adaptable nature. There's a lot of stuff to take on, when you arrive into a new country in a host family setting. You need to get to know the kids, the family, you want to make friends. So the kind of open and outgoing nature is quite important in that sense. And what I again touched upon previously is just communication skills. So essentially, if there's any worries or any queries, then ultimately it's important to be able to speak with your host family openly to iron those concerns out. And if, you don't know how to tackle these questions with the family, then ultimately that's what we're here for, to kind of support that kind of conversation process as well. So we can act as essentially mediators along the way.
Okay. And what's the application process? If somebody wants to be an au pair, what do they have to do to get accepted into the program and placed with the family?
In the very first instance, obviously, you need to contact Go International to complete the application form. And as part of the application form, basically, what we ask for is just general preferences, general personal details. So we know, where the candidate wants to be placed, what kind of experience they have, any other preferences, like are they happy with pets, for example. And these kind of give us a starting point in terms of working out which families would be the best fit for that particular au pair. Then what we do ask is minimum 2 references, one being a childcare reference and one being character reference. So childcare reference can be anything from, babysitting, tutoring, some may have worked as a kind of teacher's assistant, or some may have even worked in a more formal setting in nurseries or in schools, for example. So as long as it's an independent reference, so someone who's not related, that would be acceptable. And then the character reference can literally be from, teacher, a previous employer, for example, if you had a summer job.
I often recommend coaches.
So
a lot of people who
references.
play sports, their coaches know them really well. Yeah, and usually give a good character reference.
Absolutely. And then further we ask for police check. So police check is literally just to confirm that, the kind of criminal background is clear, because obviously the candidates will be working with kids. So, that's self-evident. And then we ask for some lovely photos, a letter for the host family, just again, talking a bit more about yourself, what your interests are, what your background is, what your own family is like, because that gives the family a first impression to you as a candidate as well. And that is pretty much it.
And what about the locations? You mentioned they can state a preference in the application form. Where are you finding families, and how easy is it for people to choose a preference? And is there any advantage to being in a city or out of a city? What do you see as the event? I mean, obviously there's advantages and disadvantages to both, but a little bit more about that whole experience of choosing a location.
Yeah, so we do cater for location preferences, and the most commonly requested location is London. You hear me referring to London a lot. And in general, I do have families across the UK, and we've placed au pairs all the way up until north of England, for example. I guess the important thing is to choose a location that you would feel comfortable in. So London is great because it's busy. There's loads of network opportunities, loads of other au pairs. It's very easy to kind of go out, meet people, do stuff, and travel options are basically on your doorstep. Whereas there's other advantages to being in a country location. So you're close to nature. The pace of life is slower, but at the same time, you might not have cafes and kind of mates on the doorstep. So you might need to travel a bit further. So I guess it's important to reflect what you as a person enjoy. So if you come from a country location and you really enjoy that vibe, probably being in the central London is maybe not the thing to do unless you want to experience something different. But yeah, so we do cater for preferences, and ultimately when I have a set of preferences from the candidate, then I then select families accordingly for that.
Yeah, I mean the country of England, the countryside of England is just so beautiful. And if somebody loves hiking or if they like biking,
Absolutely.
The countryside is gorgeous, and with all your footpaths and bridle paths and walking trails, it's just a lovely spot to be. But in terms of being in London and making friends, do you help with that? Do you have an orientation? Do you introduce them to other au pairs, or how do you recommend the au pairs kind of start to build their network of friends if they came on their own and know no one other?
Yeah, no, I definitely help with that because I do find that, once you have mates, that tends to keep things like homesickness at bay. So I connect au pairs immediately after they confirm the match with other local au pairs. So oftentimes, you will be chatting with other au pairs even before you're here. So you're building that network of people from very early on, and oftentimes even before you actually start the placement. So when you actually land in England, you already got those contact details for other au pairs, and oftentimes you already kind of started conversations with people. So it's easier to kind of meet up with other au pairs, and we are slowly kind of getting back into actually doing events because we had to pause a lot of the kind of personal meetings due to COVID, but there is an element where we can do pair events as well, where we meet up for coffee together, and that's kind of like a very informal.
Oh, that's fantastic! Yeah, I think that facilitation really helps people kind of break the ice, and then once they've made contact, they'll carry on their own. But that's great. Yeah.
Totally.
In terms of pre-arrival, is there any information that you provide, any training or orientation before the au pairs arrive?
Yeah, we do. So I've actually created an au pair course, and au pairs who join through Go International basically have free access to that course. And it literally covers everything, the proper ABC of being an au pair, from, what to pack to, how to get to know your family, how to come across, how to overcome any kind of problems during your placement. It's got kind of childcare sections that are actually written by a childcare trainer. So there's a huge amount of information that au pairs get access to. And again, the course access is given straight away after the candidate has basically confirmed the placement. So it's something that people can do in their own time, and they'll have access to it before they're in England, but also, during their time in England, so they can refer back to it. For if they wonder what to do about banking, or how to kind of go about travel, or how to kind of save money when you're traveling. It covers everything. We've thrown, 15 years worth of experience in there.
That's fantastic. How long would you say it would take someone to go through the course on their own? Have you figured out the timing on that?
Oh, crikey. I would probably say to go through it with actual thought, it would probably take a couple of weeks. Right. But you can obviously skim through it and do it a lot quicker if you just want to kind of pick out the best sections that are most relevant.
I'm curious, were you ever an au pair? Is that how you got into this area of work, or how did you find yourself in this industry?
Well, I always laugh that I'm a bit of an anomaly. So I came to England as an international student myself. So I came here back in 2006, and the way I landed in the au pair industry is basically I started an internship with Smart Au Pairs, and that was back in 2008. And then fast forward a couple of years, I was then the program manager, and fast forward a few more years, and I then actually bought the company. So, it's a bit of a 360 when you start as an intern, you end up buying the company. But yeah, I always laughed in the beginning that, I hadn't been an au pair. And at that time I didn't have children of my own, but I always had the international element there. And I always felt that I could really connect with, young people, because I was young myself when I traveled abroad. I knew the kind of challenges that people would face, because I happened to live in a tiny place. There were no people around. And all my au pairs throughout the years end up being au pairs because we were very close to age. And even now, some of my closest friends, they're ex-au pairs. They have their families of their own now. They have the kids, but they end up actually settling in the UK. They've got their own families here now. So, I guess when you say that someone lives and breathes the program, I think I'm a testimony for it, because, I've kind of grown with the program myself, and I understand the kind of perspectives both from the host family side, but also from the au pair side, and the kind of things that people go through when they travel abroad, and essentially how to best support them. And one of the things that I'm really proud of is that, any au pair that comes to the program, I don't delegate the support side to elsewhere. It's me who people speak with. It's me who follows up with them. They have my direct WhatsApp number. So essentially, if there's any worries or any questions, ultimately I'm at hand kind of 24/7. Do you
have any other staff in the company?
I do. So my other half actually works in the business as well. And I do have some ad hoc help, depending on how busy we are. But it's myself.
That's great. So you are very close to the operations. Obviously, you are the operations. Yeah.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So have you seen any kind of, have you got any remarkable stories to share? Anything that you remember from the years of working with the au pairs?
Oh, there's loads. So we've done, like an annual Au Pair of the Year award, but we've also won the IAPA Au Pair of the Year award, which is kind of like a global award. So that's kind of like a tick in a box, and we're really proud of that. But I think in general, the success stories are the ones where, I get photos from the au pair, 10 years later, together with a host family, with a family being their wedding or something, So seeing the program actually creating lifelong relationships where, you still keep in touch with the host family, or the friends that you made during the time in England, you're still in touch with them, years later. Like I had a really good friend of mine, a German au pair. She's, made friends with an Australian au pair. So they've both visited one another after the program. And I think they're going to be lifelong friends ever since. So, the program is so much more than just that half a year to a year. If that's what you want it to be, it can really, really create kind of lifelong relationships and friendships. And I think that's the most special parts of it. And obviously the awards, etc. They're just kind of like a cherry on the cake, but for me, that's the most special.
I want to go back to, you mentioned at the very beginning that they work 25 to 30 hours a week with the family, and they get free accommodation and meals. And you also mentioned that they get some wages. Is it pocket money or is it full wages? And what would you estimate someone would make in a month or a week?
I myself, as an agency, I actually enforce national minimum wage. So we don't operate on a pocket money basis anymore, but essentially au pairs expect to earn at least the minimum wage. So the typical range is anywhere between 150 to 300 pounds per week. 150 to 200 pounds per week is the typical range for, your kind of traditional au pairs. If you're, 18 or 19, you have kind of some childcare experience, but perhaps not extensive. That's the kind of range that you would be looking at being. Whereas if you come in with more substantial childcare experience, or, you might already have a qualification, then that's when you would be looking at the kind of higher ranges and potentially even more than the 300 if you're looking more like a nanny position. So there's a bit of a range there, but as an agency, yeah, we've kind of taken a stance that, au pairs do need to be paid kind of like in line with, a normal employees do, which is a much better package for them.
Yeah, and that's super important to us too. We want to make sure that the au pairs who are young people aren't taken advantage of, right? And that they do have fair wages so
Absolutely,
that they can, enjoy their time there, obviously. So with that kind of money, there's money to go out and do things and go save a little bit and go away for a weekend.
Exactly, and that money is essentially pure spending money, because if you think about it, you don't have rent, you don't have bills, and you don't pay for your kind of normal food. Obviously, if you go out for kind of like a meal with your mates, then you pay for that. But in general, you'll have plenty of money, to travel within the UK, go for coffee, go shopping. So it truly is kind of spending money rather than money that's going on living costs.
And I just wanted to congratulate you again for having your little baby 10 weeks ago. Thank you for joining us with such a young child at home. I guess this is changing again for you, your experience in this industry now, having your own child. Will you have an au pair at some point?
It says indeed.
Will you have an au pair working with you at some point? Do you expect?
I'd love to, but you know what? The au pair program has always kind of emphasized the fact that because we don't expect qualifications, we don't expect au pairs to work with very young children. So normally an au pair is recommended for families with the children a little bit older, and the minimum age for an au pair to have sole care for a young child is actually 2 years plus. So, and that takes the risk element away, because ultimately, if the family has a really young child, lots of working hours, then we normally recommend qualified childcare. Whereas an au pair is a fantastic option, when the kids are a bit older, and there's more of a routine. Because knowing myself, with a 10-week-old, there is no routine. And although I'd love to have help at some point, at this stage, I think it would be even too much for an au pair.
Well, that's wise, actually. Yeah, to have a minimum age of 2, I think by then they're walking and they're talking and
exactly, and they can kind of vocalize themselves a bit more.
Yeah. Well, are there any other trends or sort of changes that you're seeing in the industry, especially now coming out of COVID? Anything that's shifted or changed in terms of the nationality mix of the au pairs that you're getting, or in terms of the interests of the au pairs? Anything?
So I guess the fact that we're coming out of COVID simply means that it's easier to travel. So there's more flights, and when there's more flights, it brings the flight cost actually down. And there's more people joining the program again, which means that there's more networking opportunities whilst the au pairs are actually here. Furthermore, it's a lot easier now to hop over to Europe as well for anybody that wants to kind of take a break or a holiday in a different European country. So that's one side. The nationality mix has definitely changed in the UK, not so because of COVID, but more so because of Brexit. Since Brexit, the number of nationalities that can apply for the UK program has become a lot more limited. So now, there's a relatively defined selection of nationalities that we can work with. So, Canadians being one, Australians, New Zealanders, and British overseas nationals. But there's not a whole lot of other nationalities that actually qualify for the program. So it has meant that the nationality mix in itself has become more.
Which would mean more opportunity for Canadians. Yeah. Yes, so it's a good time for Canadians to look at going to the UK. Yeah.
Totally, and that's been one of the kind of good points in terms of the kind of overall package as well. So it's helped us drive the kind of the pay rates up for the candidates, because for a long time, especially pre-Brexit, that the rates the au pairs would have been receiving were a lot lower than what they're now. So it's a good kind of time to apply for the program, because the candidates have a good choice of roles to choose from, basically. And the roles are paid well as well.
Well, Tuli, thank you so much. This has been really helpful, I think, for our listeners to know more about being an au pair. For me, I've never had an au pair in my home, and I wasn't an au pair, but Hearing you explain the experience, I wish I could go back to being 18 again and go live with a family in the UK.
I know, me too. I follow so many au pairs on Instagram, and obviously when I catch up with them after they've started, I've spoken to so many au pairs in the last couple of days where, they are the ones that are, I'm going interrailing with this new au pair buddy of mine for the next couple of weeks in Europe. And I'm like, that would be wonderful. So it's so brilliant to see, people actually coming in with a kind of like a long bucket list and actually taking stuff off from that and seeing so many places, making friends. And, I don't just say that people, make friends in the program, but I see literally au pairs from the au pair listing that I send out, traveling together, meeting for coffee, going out, having fun. That's been really brilliant to see. And I wish I was 18 as well. That'd be good.
Yeah, do it again. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today, and lovely to spend time with you. That's all for this episode of Canadians Work and Travel Abroad. I'm Tamsin Plaxton, and thanks for joining us. We would love to hear from you. So if you have feedback or ideas of other topics you would like us to cover in new episodes, please contact us. Our email address is programs, PROGRAMS, programs at gointernational.ca. And if you want to learn more about the programs we currently offer, please visit our website, www.gointernational.ca. And in order to help us find more Canadians and share this information, please like and review this podcast. We want to get the word out. Thanks so much.